Hi, my name's Cronin, thanks for joining me again. And today I'm going to show you how to paint a nice little woodland scene. I'll show you how to get plenty of lights and darks in your scene to try and create some drama and atmosphere. I'll show you a simple way to paint trees from distant ones coming right into the foreground. A few simple little rocks here and there, just catching the light in the shadowy areas. And we've got our path leading into the focal point, our two little figures walking off into the light. But before all that, let's take a quick look at the materials. So here I've got my palettes. We've got ultramarine, cadmium yellow, Payne's grey, alizarin crimson, raw sienna, burnt umber and light red. The main brush I always use is the large Ron Ranson Hake, and it's 15 by 11 watercolour paper. The only other brush I use in this one is the little number 3 rigger brush. So I'm starting off with the big 8 brush, and this is just clean water going all the way over the paper just to lubricate it and make everything nice and soft with no hard edges. And then I'm going to go more water, a bit of raw sienna, a bit of cadmium yellow. And I'm going to start trying to create sort of random patterns all the way down. But then I'm consciously, I want to sort of leave a lit area somewhere around here. A bit of ultramarine there, just to alter the flavour of the green. So I don't want it all the same colour. Just want sort of differences here and there. Now in the tree canopy, it's a little bit darker up the top. A bit more water, it's been a bit dry on the paper. So I want it all to blend together. Yeah, a bit more in there, a bit too big that white space was. Add a bit of ultramarine, get these darks, big thick trees, leaves and stuff up the top area. And down there, a few shadows will be around there, so that might go in a bit dark. And then I've just dipped the very corner of the brush into the water just to loosen everything up a little bit, and I've just added a bit of Payne's grey now just to really darken it. This will be a real shadowy area down here, so let's just bash that in there so it's done. A few more shadows up the top. So down there. So that's just a general background just to play around with now, and I can just see how it develops as the painting goes on really. Soak up any water that's accumulating at the bottom. You often get like a little pool of water gathered at the bottom of the paper. Being careful, it starts to creep up a little bit, so just take it out with your brush, pull the paper tight, flat against this board, just a 9mm piece of plywood I got from B&Q. Next, I'm going to put in some distant trees, so I'm going to switch to the little rigger brush. I'm just going to bit of burnt umber, and then let's get some water on there. It's a little bit dry, just pop some water on there with a big brush. And then a bit of burnt umber, a bit of cadmium yellow, a bit of ultramarine. Now I'm just going to pop in a few distant trees. Because the paper's still wet, these will just soften off and they'll look as if they're quite some distance away. Especially when I put in the closer stuff with the stronger paint, less water. Now there's no water in this painting, so I haven't got to worry about reflections. And then while the paper's wet, it takes longer for the brush to dry out because it starts off using the paints on the brush, but then if this paper was dry now, I'd only get a couple of strokes and I'd have to reload the brush, but it's picking up the paint and the water that's already on the paper. Whoops, that was a mistake. Rockham, don't worry about it. Work with that. Right, so that's the most distant landing. Next thing I want to do, I'm just going to clean the brush. Let's just squeeze the water out of it, because I don't want any water because the paper's still wet. And I just want to mark out where the actual land, the lie of the land. So I'm just going straight into cadmium yellow. It starts off quite high up on this left hand side. It's sloping down the hillside. So the horizon lines somewhere around there. And then it goes back up again into this little shadowy area. So coming down there like that. And I think this is just going to be a few rocks and things in this foreground. So I'll worry about them in a minute. For now, let's put a few more trees in. This time I'm going to use the big brush now. Now I don't want, the paper's still wet, so I don't want much water on this brush because there's enough on the paper. All I want is enough just to hold the hairs together. That's all I'm looking for. So I'm doing a bit of brown, a bit of blue, darkish mix, and then this is what I call the sort of middle layer of trees. So I'm still doing them fairly thin, but the paper's starting to dry, so it's going on thicker and thicker as the paper dries. Not much water on the in the brush, so it's quite a fairly strong mix. Let's put a few branches on those tree trunks. So I've gone back to the little brush, bit of brown, bit more water, bit of blue, bit of yellow. And I'm just going to add a few limbs to these trunks, flesh them out a bit. And then once these are done, I'll use a dry brush and add a bit of foliage, a few leaves here and there. The paper's stretched a little bit, so I'm just going to pull it tight against this board again. You can stretch it before you start painting, it's entirely up to you. I just prefer to do it as I go along, really. Just soaking up that water that's gathering at the bottom of the paper. And then what I'm going to do is just clean the brush. I'm just going to squeeze all the water out of it. Just want to use a fairly dry brush. Just drying it on this tea towel, always holding my left hand, and I'm going to go into cadmium yellow, a little bit of raw sienna as well, and then popping in a few little leaves here and there. And it's a bit darker, so I'm going ultramarine, adding ultramarine to the mix. So it's going a little bit darker and stronger. Because the brush is still fairly dry, I'm not blocking it in en masse. A bit more yellow. Something down there. Add a bit of Payne's grain to there, to really get a dark green going. Cadmium yellow, Payne's grey. Really darkening that up. going on down there. It's a grass even there. While it's on the brush, you might as well use it. This is just bits of grass I'm doing on the floor now. Again, just working out the lie of the land again. So it's starting to take shape a little bit now. So we've got our light coming through the scene, little light patch here on the floor as well. So now I'm going to do the thickest mix of the lot, which would be the closest trees to us. So I'm going to bother cleaning the brush because I want quite a dark mix. So I'm just giving burnt umber. Again, just enough water on the brush to hold all the hairs together. There's never water swishing about on the palette. Look, I can hold it upside down, there's nothing dripping off. The only water I'm after is in the brush itself, in the hairs. Bit of brown, bit of blue. Nice dark mix, so these tree trunks will silhouette against the light of the sky. We'll bring it to a chisel edge, something like so. Right, now the biggest tree. Where we go, somewhere like that. That's going right up there, like so. And there's another one next to it. I can go that way. There's one up here. Up there. There's something even like that. Dark one up there. Well, let's put some limbs on these. So, bit of brown, bit of blue, bit of yellow, quite a dark mix. See, it always looks most effective. See, I'll just pull that down now into that lit area, just to sort of maximise the contrast. And because there's the paper, this brown's still wet, all I'm doing, I'm just grabbing hold of that paint that's already on, and just flicking it from side to side. These are just branches growing off these trees. I wouldn't be able to do this now if the paper was dry. A bit more paint. Let's put some bigger ones on this time. That's going right the way down there, like see. And some coming off the top of the page. Right, so I'm going to put a bit of foliage on then. So again, I'm just going to squeeze the water out of the brush, dry it on this tea towel, just scuff the hairs up so it's nice and random, because you don't want them all nice and symmetrical. Everything, you know, nature grows every which way it pleases. Bit of raw sienna, bit of cadmium yellow. Go a little bit darker, add a bit of ultramarine to it. Let's add a bit of Payne's grey as well, I'll go darker still. So there's something down there. It's quite dark down here as well, really sort of shadowy area around here. Payne's grey, bit of burnt umber. What I might do is again clean the brush, fairly dry, scuff it up on the tea towel. Let's just give that cadmium yellow. See how they don't quite look right, they need to be bedded in. I'm just giving a bit of yellow and I'm just sort of pushing it up onto the bottom of that tree trunk just so it looks more natural. Looks like, you know, there's something growing just at the base of that tree. Let's be a little bit darker. Let's add a bit of burnt umber to it. And these what I might do is just darken this a little bit. few little rocks down there. And you don't like, just paint straight over them. Let's get a few rocks up there, and just the light's coming through it and just sort of just catching the tops of them. Some down there as well. So what I think I need now, I'm just going to make sure this is flat, and then I'm going to add a few shadows to it. I think there's a few already there, but I'll try and strengthen some of them, but I need to quickly dry it first. Doesn't have to be bone dry, that'll do. So what I'm going to do, I'll just dip the tips in just to loosen everything up a bit. With a bit of brown, a bit of light red in there as well, just to warm it up a bit. And a bit of ultramarine. So the shadow mix. Right. So we've got our light coming through here, so it's casting some strong shadow. So I'm going to pretend the sun's somewhere out of shot up here, and just coming straight down, and just sending these across. See how they're nice and strong. Again on the other side, and coming up there, and just coming down like that. Just darken those a little bit, just to emphasise those even more. Taking some of that off with a T-towel, because I don't want it too strong, and then I'm just going to imagine there's like a few little bushes and things in shadow. So there's someone else up there. Shadowy dark up there. The more shadow you can get in, the more it'll sort of emphasise the light. It's just getting that sort of light and dark, you know, that playing with that mix, just to get the balance just right. I'm just trying to imagine that's a path coming through. I'm just trying to define that path a little bit better. maybe sort of sweep round here, because sort of something like that. I'm just trying to use these shadows just to try and define the way the path sort of snakes around, and again you can always emphasise it a little bit more with a few little rocks and stones. Just a few on this side as well. I think we just need, just missing a focal point, I think, so into that shadowy mix. I think I just need a couple just walking. Walking through the woods there. So, big man on the left and his lady friend on the right. So it makes like a little, like a carrot shape really. And now obviously, so the light's just coming through there, so we're just putting some sort of shadow behind them. Just swishing the brush about. And I think there might even be time, just time, just for a little bird up there. And I think I'm going to call that one finished. So all that's left now, if you're painting along, just stick your name in the corner, not too far in the corner because you won't see it once you put the mount on. So just come in a little bit. Where can I get it? And stick it down. Just there. Right, let's stick the mount on and see what it looks like. So here's the finished painting, my shiny new clean mount. So let's go in and have a closer look at it. So I've started off with a sort of cadmium yellow, raw sienna mix, just brushed in randomly all the way down to the bottom of the paper. That gave a sort of, a nice various shades of green look to it, but preserving this sort of centrally lit area coming right through the scene, through our figures here into the foreground path. Then switching to the little rigger brush, I put in all these tree trunks, and because the paper was still wet, they've all sort of softened off and seem really far away, all the way across. As the paper dries and the mix gets less water, more paint, it goes on thicker and thicker until we get to these foreground trees that go on the thickest of all. And you can see how they sort of really come to the foreground and push the further ones even further back, using the darkest mix just to get that maximum contrast from light and dark, and also the shadows off it really help give that sense of light coming straight down the centre of the scene. With the tree shadows in, I also use the same mix just to create a few sort of bushes in shadow, again pushing them right up to the lighter areas, sort of maximise the effects. A few more there on the right hand side, going up these hillsides, when it gets really dark around this sort of section. Then I've used the plastic card just to give the effect of, imagine the lights coming from here, just hitting the edge of these rocks with shadow on the right hand side. That's like the ones when I do them on this side, I have to do them left-handed, so it looks like you've got the light coming from here catching. So because I'm generally right-handed, but I have to do it left-handed, so it looks like the light's catching, and you've got the shadow on the left. The opposite way to it is on the other side. I could have painted. I decided to leave the path area, just leave it lit as it was. I don't think it needed. I did a painting the other day, and once I put the path in, I put it in too dark, and it just completely killed it. Leaving it like this, I think it just, I don't think it needs anything. Or maybe just a very light wash, just to maybe give it some colour, but to retain the lighter tone. And then once I'd set the scene, we just needed our little foreground, our little focal points, which are the the sort of young couple heading off into the light beyond. Well, that's it for another paint. I hope you enjoy that. I hope you was painting along with me. Don't forget, keep practicing. Very best of luck to you, and I'll see you again soon.